Do you know anything about herbs?
I'm not an expert, but I know a little something. Is it urgent?
Well, one of the workers who was injured during construction would like to get back to work. He mentioned some purple flowers that would...
Herbs.
Oh, purple herbs that should help.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but you can have a look in the herbarium here. There won't be too many purple herbs for bruises and sprains. See you later. See you later.
Oh, it's you. Hopefully I have what you need.
Thank you. With any luck, I'll soon be feeling better. If you find the time, stop by to see me in a few days.
Take care.
Dear Mistress Johanka, I come again in admiration of your selfless dedication. I would like to invite you to a fine banquet at my palace. You certainly have earned some... What business have you here, fellow? Who let you in?
I'm taking care of the wounded, as I'm sure you're aware.
Ah. Well then, run along and take care of them, and let me talk to Johanka. You're not needed here.
Wouldn't it be better to have the banquet here, custodian?
What?
If you won't give the sick anything else, couldn't you at least hold the banquet here?
Nobody's going to talk to me that way. Lock him up for the night and let him learn some manners.
Get out before I break a few of your bones, so you'll remember me for good.
Greetings, Henry.
That custodian Sebastian is really obnoxious.
He can be unpleasant, but in his own way. I don't know.
You can't be serious.
What's that supposed to mean? At least he was here, unlike you, the whole time. And anyway, mind your own business. God bless.
I could do with a bite to eat.
Greetings, Henry.
Tell me more about the situation here. All right, that's all I need to know. How are the sick and wounded faring? I don't think there's anything more I can do for them.
I know. And you helped the best you could. All we can do now is pray for the souls of the departed. God be with you.
Would you teach me more about alchemy?
Certainly.
I'm interested in more advanced techniques.
All right, but it'll cost you. Now, pay close attention.
It's only just arrived. Jesus, what have you been up to?
Are you happy here?
It's not worth a damn. If I had any choice, you wouldn't see my heels for dust.
Well, what's happened? Did you two get yourselves into trouble?
A fine friend you are, assuming it's our own bloody fault.
Oh, come on. You know what you two are like. I had to ask.
Well, perhaps with that monk. But now, the foreman's got it in for us. If he could, he'd skin us alive.
Always forcing you to work, is he?
If only. That wouldn't be so awful. But nothing we do is good enough for him. There's always some reason for him to yell at us.
I can imagine.
You know what it's like. We do too little, and it takes us too long, and what we eat's worth more than the work we've done, and it's no fun listening to that sort of shit day after day.
And the miller won't stick up for you. I would have thought all the yelling would drive him mad.
Not really. He trusts that loudmouth bastard more than us. He's got us down for a pair of parasites.
I see.
What's so stupid is the mill really needs us. They haven't had any hands here for quite a while, and the mill needs a lot of fixing. But with them around, we can't even get to work.
And you definitely don't... You don't ever provoke him?
I've already told you once, he's an arsehole. I'd say there's nothing we can do about it. If he wants to yell at us, he'll yell at us.
Have you tried talking with him?
What do you think? But that just sets him off. He starts saying we're practically bandits, and what he's going to do about it. That gets Fritz going, and he starts yelling too, and...
I'd never have guessed he's like that.
Well, get a job here as a hand and you'll soon see.
And what does he do during the day? Does he work with you?
Good one. He keeps his eye on everything, but his hand only touches the saw when the miller shows up, which isn't that surprising.
Why?
The last time he did anything, he almost took his thumb off with a chisel. I wouldn't put an axe in those paws of his either.
So he's clumsy and arrogant. That's what you said about your last master, that Nimoy.
Aye, but at least you could sneak away from old Nimoy for a bit. No chance of that around here.
And what do you want to do about it? Just run away?
Actually, I'd like to stay here, at least for a bit. I never would have thought I'd like working in a mill, but not with him around. It's unbearable, and there's no one I can complain to. But you could.
Me? Do you think they'll listen to me?
They did once already, didn't they? They hired us because of you. You could have another word with them.
Back then, making promises was enough. Now, it will be worse.
You can forget about the miller. It's Thomas you need to convince. The miller takes his opinion seriously. So, will you do it for us? Again?
Fine. I'll try and talk to him.
I'm glad. But try not to get on his wrong side. You won't get anywhere with him then.
I'll keep that in mind.
Take care.
Hey, how'd you get so fucked up?
Matthew told me your foreman's a fool, and you're not exactly filled with Christian love for him.
You better believe it. I'd like to pay him back for everything and drown him in the river.
Drown him? What's he done to you?
It was the first or the second day here. We had a disagreement and I told him off. And then, all of a sudden, we're fighting and that fucker just throws me in the river. I nearly drowned.
Well, how did you get out? I thought you couldn't swim.
I can't. They pulled me out. I was up to my waist in water.
I see. Well, I'd be pretty fucking angry too. So you want to pay him back?
Exactly. I don't give a shit about anything around here, but that bastard's in need of a good trouncing.
What about the others at the mill? Are they awful as well?
The miller's an old fool. He believes every word that comes out of Thomas's mouth. It's hopeless. And then there's the miller's daughter. She's a pretty lass, and kind with it. And what can she do? Nothing. Not that it stops Matthew gonna see her. But it's Thomas who's the root of the problem.
Do you think he's jealous? Is she a sweetheart?
He might make puppy dog eyes at her, but most of the time he just struts about like a peacock. I really don't think she's the problem.
I spoke with him briefly and he doesn't seem so horrible.
Then you ought to try working with him. He's a sneaky bastard and arrogant. You should see how he puffs himself up when he's off to play dice with Lawrence.
Who's Lawrence? Another mill hand?
Aye, but at the neighbouring mill. They call him the Wren. Damned if I know why. Thomas goes there to play dice with him.
And what do you want to do about it? Do you think you can come to an agreement?
No fucking chance. Matthew hopes so because he likes it here. It's true the work's better than the mines, but the play's worse.
So how do you plan on dealing with it? Leaving?
Perhaps. But first, I want to give Thomas a proper trouncing. I mean a real thrashing.
And you think that will help?
Maybe. Maybe it'll knock some sense into that fat head of his. Or he'll be too frightened to mess with me.
That might help.
So why don't you arrange a fight with him? If we win, he'll leave us alone. Oh, we could...
What?
We could lure him off someplace far away and then wait for him. Maybe to play dice with Lawrence. He would have to go through the dark woods.
I'll think about it.
See you later.
I hope I can be of help to you, Knight.
Are you happy with your new workers?
They're good carpenters, but someone constantly has to stand behind their backs and keep an eye on them.
Really?
Yes, yes. When I'm there with them, everything goes smoothly. But the moment I leave, I hear Thomas yelling at them.
I've heard.
I don't know what I'd do without Thomas. He keeps an eye on everything for me now. The mill wouldn't function without him.
Yeah, but Thomas has problems with carpentry.
You're right. You should hear him cursing when he has to turn his hand to it. He knows he'll never be a real miller.
What, just because of that?
No. He's not too skilled at handling the water wheel and the mill run either. He can wield a shovel well enough, but otherwise I have to keep telling him how to do things.
So he's not been foreman too long then?
No. My son used to run the mill, but then his wagon overturned with him inside it. It'll be a year ago now, come spring.
I'm sorry.
Me too, boy. And after Martin was gone, the other workers left and only Thomas stayed. I don't know what I'd do without him.
What happened that day? Wagons don't overturn themselves.
He was transporting new stone blocks for the mill and he had to take a detour. Since the wagon was too heavy for the ford, it was after a downpour. The load must have slipped and the whole wagon fell on him. I pray it was quick.
So he was alone, with no one to help him?
Of course not. Thomas was there too. He helped Martin to load the wagon in Sasau and both of them set off back.
Just the two of them? No one else was there?
No, they always did it that way. Martin didn't like dragging people where it wasn't necessary, when they could be doing work elsewhere. But if I had been there with them, maybe he'd still be alive. Thomas couldn't pull the wagon off him. He ran for help, but it was already too late.
I'm sorry. But I'm sure he's in God's kingdom now.
He was a good boy, a kind soul.
Have you been without carpenters for a while?
A long time. Since winter, it's been just me and Thomas.
Nobody stays around?
No. These days, it's hard to find a man you can rely on. Young lads today are bone idle. None of them wants to do an honest day's work.
And how many have actually worked here?
About half a dozen, maybe more. We always put up with them till the most urgent work was done, then sent them packing.
And what about Jane? Shouldn't she have a husband by now?
What are you trying to say?
A pretty girl like her is ripe for marriage.
With a large dowry because she comes from a mill? Well, she had herself a man once, but he ran away during the winter. He wasn't up to the work either.
And how long did he last?
You know, he was here for a while. But back then my son was a foreman and he was a kindly soul. Too kind. He never threw anyone out.
So everyone started leaving when Thomas took over?
Well, Thomas is a dog on slackers. And just as well. Maybe it's harsh, but that's what you need nowadays. If we don't mill, folk don't eat.
So the moment Thomas became mill foreman, everyone started running off? Not one man could stand it here, even if they had a chance to marry Jane. Don't you think Thomas might be doing it on purpose? Sounds to me like he's after the mill, or your daughter, or both.
That's not like him. He's a good man and straightforward. He knows I can always send for a new mill foreman.
And Jane?
Don't worry about her. She'll wed whoever I approve of, even Thomas if he asks for her hand. At least with him, I know he won't leave the mill.
Indeed, why would he, once he's got rid of everyone else?
That's enough. I don't know why you're trying to slander Thomas, but I don't mean to listen to it any longer. Take care.
I heard what you asked my father. You can't expect help from him. He's none too sharp these days.
And can you help me then?
No. Nobody listens to me. But I wanted to say that Thomas does do it on purpose. He did it the same way before.
Why?
Because he's afraid if someone comes who's more skilled, Father will notice and give his job to the newcomer.
And your father lets him? Can't he settle this?
He probably could, but he doesn't want to. My brother was the mill foreman before him, but last year a wagon overturned on him, broke his back. It broke my father too. And Thomas was here the longest. He was always close to my brother, so father chose him as the mill foreman.
What happened to your brother?
And what does that have to do with this?
I don't know. You mentioned it, so I was just wondering.
There's not much to tell. A stone block that was loaded wrong, slippery ground after rain, and when the wagon overturned on him, there was no one around to help.
What do you mean, no one? Surely he wasn't alone.
No, he had Thomas with him. But Thomas couldn't lift the wagon off him, and by the time he found help it was too late. And as if that wasn't bad enough, someone robbed my brother while Thomas was looking for help.
Someone robbed him after he was dead?
I don't know. But they took a mottled scarf which I gave him as a keepsake. He laughed when I gave it to him. He said it would make him look like a fop, but he still wore it all the time. And someone must have thought it was worth stealing.
But who'd steal a scarf?
Why are you asking me? When they brought him back here, he didn't have it. That's all I know.
I'm sorry about what happened to him.
Me too. But it was his own fault. If he'd brought more people with him, he'd still be alive. He was too kind for his own good.
And Thomas doesn't listen to anyone. Can't you persuade him?
No. He keeps looking my way and tries to be nice, but he doesn't care what I've got to say. When I tell him something, it goes in one ear and out the other.
And this probably won't end well. I understand. I'll have to get something to eat. I'm starting to get hungry.
I'm glad to see you.
So what do you think about the workers I brought you?
If I hadn't put in a good word for them, the miller would have thrown them out by now.
I heard them say something else.
So they're complaining, are they? I provide for them, and all they do is slack off.
Isn't it the miller who provides for them?
He can't manage the work anymore. If it weren't for me, there'd be nothing left standing around here.
But you need the help anyway. And they're pretty handy.
Maybe. But they're in no danger of overworking themselves. They act like they're too good for the mill. And I saw them eyeing up Jane.
Nothing strange about that. She's a pretty girl, and she's of an age to marry.
It's not marriage they've got on their minds. They'd have their way with her, then before her belly started to grow, they'd have run for the hills.
Look, we can reach an agreement. You need the mill fixed, they need the money. If they have peace to do their work, they'll be able to finish it faster.
But...
And then they'll take their groschen and leave. The mines will open again, and the faster they get their money, the quicker they'll be gone.
But do you really think I can trust them to do it? Will they do their work and leave? And leave Jane alone in the meantime?
Of course. They're not interested in the mill. They just need the coin to pay their debts. Once they've got enough, they'll have no reason to stay here.
I never thought we could sort it out this way.
I've known them for a long time, and you can rely on them when it comes to this. Everybody will be better off.
All right. If they keep their part of the bargain, I'll even give them a few extra groschen. But woe betide them if they don't. You can tell them that. Take care.
I heard you were with the miller's son when the wagon fell on him.
What of it?
I just heard some talk and I wanted to get the story straight from you.
Talk? From who?
I heard some gossip about it at the alehouse. What happened? Was it really lightning that scared the horses?
What? No, there wasn't any storm. It was just the road was muddy, and so we rode closer to the edge of it.
It's a real stroke of bad luck, isn't it?
Tell me about it. If I'd been behind the wagon, it would have fallen on me too.
Why did only 2 of you go?
He always did it that way. 2 people are enough for the trip, and if we needed an extra pair of hands, we could always find some local.
Except at the end. If there had been more of you, he might have survived.
Do you think I don't know that? I couldn't move the wagon on my own, so I went looking for help. We'd met a few travelers along the way, and I ran to find them, but it was too late. The weight of it crushed him while I was gone.
I'm sorry.
Me too. Me too. I didn't want to be the mill foreman, but the last thing he ever said to me, the very last thing he ever asked of me, was to take care of the mill.
And I heard someone robbed him.
Robbed? What kind of nonsense is that?
I heard he was missing something when they brought him back.
What? I don't remember anything.
He had a scarf with him.
Really? I don't know. Maybe he lost it on the way. Or it sank into the mud. Yes, that's probably it. It's still buried there somewhere.
Well, I hope he's resting in peace.
Amen. God be with you. What in God?
Jesus Christ. Your clothes. Were you assaulted? Damn bandits. May they burn in hell.
You're probably interested in what Thomas was hiding, aren't you?
I certainly am interested, especially in how you came to know.
I saw it as it fell out of his pouch, and,
Show it to me.
Isn't this your brother's scarf?
That's it. Where did you get it?
As I said, Thomas had it.
He did? And what did he have to say about that?
Nothing. I came straight to you.
Oh. I suppose I'll have to decide what to do about it. But I'm grateful you brought this, and maybe... Never mind.
What is it?
I was thinking you could go to him and tell him I have the scarf. But I think I'll handle it another way.
As you wish. I'll go then.
Goodbye.
Go and bother someone younger.
Jesus, what have you been up to?
Problem solved. He won't bother you again.
Really? How'd you pull it off?
I found out he has a soft spot, and I gave it a good poke.
I'd love to know what you found out about him.
It doesn't matter. But it was enough for him to pack his things and disappear.
Jesus, it must have been something terrible. So he's really gone?
Yes. Now it's just you, so try not to misbehave.
You know us. We'd never do that. Thank you kindly, Henry. We owe you again. Here, it's not much, but it's all we have. Good luck, then.
Hey, how'd you get so fucked up?
Take care.